this sounds kind of weird. You have to understand therapy. I understand the way psychology works. What goes in has to come out. That's a challenge for you. You overcome by being able to assert your boundary. So when you're making love, what you're doing is that's just softening you up to remember who you were as a young child, which is vulnerable and soft with estrogen.
I think this ties in, really well to my next question. And it's along the lines, we mentioned pre-record about the 20 miscarriages, and we talk about this stuff publicly on interviews. It holds no dominion. The reason we do is because we've seen the power of vulnerability and helping other couples that have had less than us, which is just about everyone we've ever met. But my question, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, John, is what is your advice for the man in a relationship who learns about a childhood trauma? Let's say it might be sexual abuse. What is the best way for him to handle himself to get the best out of his wife?
He's had sexual abuse, or she's had sexual abuse?
She did.
I did.
Yeah,
And that was the reason for all these miscarriages.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Okay, there's no question in my mind. Okay, that's a lack of safety. That's why I'm emphasizing the biohacks, and this will help. The deeper level is a good therapist could help you with this. I don't know if you have a good therapist, but I also can teach you how to do this in my books. There's a book I have which is called, first book is What You Feel You Can Heal. Have you read that book?
No.
Yeah, okay. It's What You Feel You Can Heal. It's the first book I wrote. It's like a 3-hour read. It's got cartoons in it. That's the beginning. Okay, so it's like everything you could learn that's good in psychology in university is in that book, and even more than you'd learn there. Okay, so we give it. I've done 1 million copies of it. I've given it to all the prisoners in the country. I would give it to kids in school as a coloring book. I mean, it's just been a wonderful awareness for people about understanding how to process feelings. Okay, so then there's a basic technique. Then there is, Laban, were you married before, or have you had a relationship before?
I've never been married. I've had girlfriends. My longest relationship was a year. And
and Anna, and what about you?
Yeah, I've been married before.
Okay, and how long were you married?
5 years altogether, but our relationship ended like 4 years after the marriage.
Okay, all right. That's the blessing of that is now I'm going to lead you to another book, which is called Mars and Venus Starting Over. And Mars and Venus Starting Over, it allows men and women to process the emotions that were created in that relationship. And for you, it was a great insight to realize this was your stepfather as well. But there's even deeper is the father who left your mother. Without going into the whole therapy session, that's a great book because it teaches people how to process their emotions. There's another book I wrote teaching processing emotions. Is some people think it's even better, which is how to get what you want while what you have. What I find is that to attract more success in your life, you're moving along and then there's a block. Either you procrastinate or you're not achieving your goals. Then you have to look at, okay, how does that make you feel inside, the emotions, and link them to your past, and then process them, let them go, and it kind of opens a door for you to receive more. Okay, more energy,
Yes.
success in your life.
I'm familiar with this book, so
Oh, okay, you know that book.
yes, and I went through hypnotherapy that really
Okay, all right.
opened up,
So,
and I became a hypnotherapist. I also help
so
women
you're very aware. Okay,
process their emotions. I think it's more for Laban. He didn't really know how to behave himself, how to help me more.
in my weakest moments, more so than when I'm functional.
oh, okay. Well, let me stay with this for a moment, which is, was there ever any inappropriate sexual advances towards you, Anna?
Yeah.
So from stepfather, yes.
Two pregnancies and 2 illegal abortions from the abuse.
It's been going for 6 years.
Oh, you mean your stepfather? You have a pregnancy from him?
First 2 pregnancies at 15 and at 16,
Oh,
and
okay.
2 forced illegal abortions that damaged my reproductive system.
Okay. Well, I don't like to go deep into therapy because public might not understand, but I'm going to suggest, okay, is when you're making love, since you do so well, you give yourself permission to feel your anger at your stepfather. This sounds kind of weird. You have to understand therapy. And so when he is touching your breasts, which is your major oxytocin producer, or sucking on your nipples, this a therapist can't do, but your partner can do. Then you bring up the feelings of anger at your stepfather. And you basically say, I want to punch you. I hate you. I want to punch you. I want to hate you. Get out of my life. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. While you're in that most vulnerable state. Now, you should also, in my books, I teach the feeling letter technique, where you write anger, sadness, fear, and regret, and what you want. So you know those tools. So those tools, you need to do that with your stepfather many, many times. But because it was sexual in nature, the abuse that you experienced, you want to be doing that. Once you learn how to do it on paper, then while he's making love to you, bring those feelings up, and he understands he's doing therapy on you. Okay, so let me tell you how I learned this technique. All right, it makes help understand that it's not every therapist doesn't understand this, but when a woman brought in a child who had been adopted, and the child had been abandoned, and as a result, when the baby was abandoned and found at the orphanage on the door, or at the church on the door. Okay, so this is a baby almost died, abandoned. And then when the baby grew up, you couldn't touch the child. Okay, if you touch the child will start to scream. So you don't touch the child, so I understand the way psychology works. What goes in has to come out. And before I tell you what I did to cure that in one session, I give you another example. When my daughter Lauren was 6 years old, we were at a resort, and it was a very safe place so she could wander around freely. And somehow it came up in a conversation, where she probably was bragging. My dad wrote, "Men are from Mars, women are from Venus." She was very proud of me, and I was very famous at the time. And this woman heard little Lauren say this and said, "Well, your father's an idiot. He's a complete idiot." And so that happened. And then she came back to the hotel room to where I was, and she was red in the face. And she says, "Daddy, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're an idiot." And I said, "Well, what does it mean? What's an idiot?" She goes, "I don't know, but you're an idiot." That's an example that my children all felt very safe. They could express whatever they felt. But so it went in, it has to come out. Okay. So everything inside comes out. And so we want to let it come out one stage at another. But because this abuse is sexual in nature, one aspect of it, it's all abusive, is when he's touching your breasts, to give yourself permission to remember your resistance to him, and your hatred for him, and your anger at him. And I want to punch you, and I want to punch you. And you could even, at some point, you can go with how what works for you, but you can actually pull away and start hitting his chest. It won't hurt him, but to put it into physical punching. Okay. And then you just, no. And
I think you underestimate Anna's strength, John.
Well, don't do it too much then. But don't hurt him. But just, you want to put it into the power of no. And I hate you. And no, it's building that, it's that negativity that would have been there if you felt safe. Okay. Like, if somebody mistreated my daughter, she'd be furious and say, "Get out of my life right now." I mean, she feels so powerful because she had a father who never suppressed her emotions. She's quite a powerful girl, which can also lead to being judgmental. But don't treat me that way. So she doesn't default into nice always. It's like I put up a clear boundary. I know what I deserve, and I don't deserve that. That's a challenge for you that you overcome by being able to assert your boundary. So when you're making love, what you're doing is that's just softening you up to remember who you were as a young child, which is vulnerable and soft with estrogen. And then this horrible thing happened. Give yourself permission to feel it and express it in the words since you started out with the breast, that's good. We'll just start with the breast is a good, there's no more powerful way to do it. Now, what I used to do with my clients, well, with like this child who basically did not want to be touched in any way. The reason for that is that children need to be touched. Okay. Every child loves to be touched, needs to be touched. But if they don't get that touch, they go into denial because it's too painful to, and everybody does this, by the way. If you feel a need and you think I can't get it or you don't get it, it's too painful to feel I have a need and I can't get it. So then what the brain does is it goes into, well, if I can't get it, then I don't need it. It's not important to me. I don't want it. I have to push it down. That's that mechanism of pushing it down, which actually for men is not so bad because it builds testosterone. But for women, it inhibits estrogen. You have to push it down. So you want to give yourself this kind of a context of, I want to be able to feel how much I hate my stepfather and my anger at that and freely express it when I'm feeling very vulnerable, because you were very vulnerable at that time. So that's a big part of it. Then what you want to be able to do is, after you really get that out in your feeling letters, to be able to go from anger to then letting yourself feel the sadness that was so much disappointment, sadness that you felt, what you missed out on. And then all the fears that would come up around him. You know, I'm afraid to be around you. I'm afraid to talk to you. I'm afraid to say no. I'm afraid to tell people. I feel so ashamed of myself. So then you have to feel the shame. So you want to just give yourself permission to feel these things. And shame is a hard one because you shouldn't feel ashamed. It's something, shame is always, you should feel ashamed, not me, but we end up feeling ashamed. Example for me is I've had millions of dollars that were, people lied to me and defrauded me and went to jail. Okay. But I admit that some guy fooled me and I was cheated out of millions of dollars. I feel bad. I don't want to tell anybody, then people will think less of me. And so my thing, this is the thing for children, multiply that times 10. If someone treats a child in a way that they should be ashamed of, the child ends up feeling ashamed. Yeah. So that's where you just let irrational feeling of shame. I'm bad. that happened to me and people find out, whatever. Just give yourself permission to feel it. Then you write the response, which is having that person, imagine them taking 100 seminars with me and saying, I understand why you're angry, understand why you're sad, understand why you're afraid, understand why you feel bad. It's not your fault. It's my fault. I probably never can make it up to you, but I'm so sorry. Maybe someday on your last breath, you'll forgive me, but it's my fault. I should suffer in hell for it. Just say the things that they really need to be saying to that child. And I won't do it again. And as if you're back at that time. Then if you imagine that, then you can imagine how I would have felt having someone say that. And after you're connected with that part of you, which is very angry, and then you feel grateful that now it's over and I'm happy I found, Laban, and I'm grateful in my life. So you bring it always back to the positive. That's the important part. But you got to dip into your power to say no. And that's a big part of the healing. We have so many dysfunctional relationships in America. It's a little bit farther than in Australia, because we've got an average of 60% of all boys and girls grow up in a home without a father.
What is your advice for the man in a relationship who learns about a childhood trauma? Let's say it might be sexual abuse. What is the best way for him to handle himself